YouTube Live. I have Miss Jillian Arthis with us, who is a director of ADP. Now, if you guys don't know who ADP is a payroll processing company. They actually do many things, many different business services, and they have been around for quite some time. They are my payroll provider of choice, and she is here to answer some questions for you guys. You guys may have seen Jillian on some previous lives of mine, and we do have a podcast that's going to be airing within the next 2 weeks. So you guys will have a deep dive into, who she is and what exactly, how we can work together. But yeah, if you could just give yourself a brief introduction to those that have maybe not had a chance to see you on my channel before.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Jillian Arthis. I'm with ADP. I assist small business owners with getting them set up on payroll, whether it's just themselves or whether they have, one, two employees or multiple employees. We assist with timekeeping, employee handbooks, workers' compensation, getting set up with retirements, anything, we do everything from hiring to firing and everything in between.
I love that. Yes, many people think ADP is just like a payroll platform. That's just one of the many things that they provide, as Jillian mentioned. And it's really important, I feel like, going into this new year. We just started a new fiscal year, to be doing things, the proper way. If we're sending people money through Zelle, if we're sending people money through Cash App, and we're sending people money, on all these different other platforms, things can get very messy. And more importantly, we want to make sure that we're in compliance, right, with everything that we're doing in our business. So, a lot of my viewers, as you know, Jillian, they are small business owners. They're in the cleaning space or some type of service-based business. And I'm always referring to ADP as my payroll provider of choice for a number of reasons. One being that you guys have 24 customer service, which is something that I love. And number two, you guys have been in, the game, as they would say, for quite some time. How long has ADP been in business?
Now it's been over 75 years.
Oh wow. Okay. So I said 25, you guys. So 75 years ADP has been doing business. And quote, please let me know if I'm wrong. Is it ADP provides payroll to every like 1 in 7 or 1 in 9 Americans? How
One
does
in
that?
five.
1 in 5. Okay, I was saying 7.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. So 1 in 5 people are actually getting paid through ADP. So that just goes to show you, what a big company this is. And also just want to mention that ADP serves people that are also small, right? So you don't need to have a large company in order to get connected and start using ADP. You can be a solopreneur, you could be a freelancer, you could just, be you, go in the business, and it is never too late to sign up or start doing things the right way. We actually first started with ADP as our first payroll provider when we started the business. And, I thought it was going to be very difficult. I didn't know what I should do, but thankfully I had a mentor who said, you need to put yourself on payroll and you need to start paying yourself properly, right? Um, because the benefit of that is also, doing your taxes, being able to like buy a house later on, to have some kind of proof of income
Income.
for
Mhm.
yourself, right? Not so much for the business, but for yourself. Because there are a lot of things that, we all need to do outside of the business as well. Maybe you want to lease a car, maybe you want to rent an apartment, maybe you want to buy a house, maybe, you want to take out student loans or help somebody out in your family. And a lot of times that we go to open a line of credit or we're trying to get approved for something, people want to see proof of income. So we were signed up with ADP for the first year, and we started to pay ourselves a salary. That's pretty much how we've always paid ourselves, is on a salary. So I think it's a great idea for anyone that's, just starting out in business to connect with Jillian. I'm going to have all of her information and contact info in the description of this video, and connect with her and see what she can do for you and your small business. There's just so much that they do have to offer. And another thing that I want to mention, Jillian is very, very, very well educated in all things ADP. She has been super helpful in answering my community on their questions about payroll, about subcontractors, about all things. So, for anybody that's on this live right now, please feel free to go ahead and drop in the chat where you're calling in from, the name of your business. And if you have any questions in regards to payroll compliance or anything to do with, the legal side of payroll, Jillian is here to answer our questions and help us out. Something that I would love for you to just talk a little bit on, Jillian, is how often things change year to year, right? We were having this discussion off camera about like the regulations in New York, for example.
Yeah. So like just last year alone there was 46 compliance changes just in 1 year. And there's been a lot of changes too with the one big beautiful bill as far as overtime and tipping. So if you have, if you do receive tips in your industry, which I would think in the cleaning business, is that a common thing? Do you receive tips?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of times the cleaners do. Yes, they receive tips.
Yeah. So now they have passed a bill where they're taxed differently, but it also depends on the type of tip that it is. So ADP is able to handle all that automatically. Through based like we took what the one big beautiful bill was and changed our entire platform to be able to handle all of that. So the overtime laws, the one big beautiful bill, and then just like I said, just alone last year there was 46 compliance changes. So that's our job, is to constantly stay up to date with all those changes, change it in the system, make you aware of it, and have it done automatically.
That's
Like
beautiful.
ADP
So,
stands for automatic data processing, so everything is just done for you all on its own.
which I really love because as a small business owner, we wear many hats, right?
Yeah.
We are customer service. Some of us are still out in the field cleaning. Some of us are head of marketing. We're doing all of these things. Payroll itself is its own job, right?
Mhm.
Um, that was a headache. I love that ADP was able to come in and help me out with that. But as you mentioned, all of these compliances and things that I would have to be aware of, I would have no idea if it was me just running the payroll by myself. The state doesn't send us any updates. It doesn't let us know, hey, Carol, now you got to start paying this person, this much, or you need to start deducting this because of this bill that was just passed. But ADP, as mentioned, as Jillian mentioned, they do get all those updates, right? They know what's going on in whatever state or country that you are in. From our friend from London that's tuning in, Maria, um, you can also get in contact with Jillian. ADP is a worldwide company. This isn't just for those of you that are in the States. This is pretty much for anybody, that needs to run payroll or needs to pay subcontractors. So even if you do not have employees and you are paying subcontractors, you can sign up with ADP to help make that much simpler for you. We should not be sending Zelle. We should not be sending Venmo. We should not be sending Cash App payments, PayPal. We need everything to be organized in one place. When it's time to go do our taxes, which it's about that time already for last year, right? We need to be able to come to our accountant and say, okay, I sent Maria, Vasquez this much money this year. This is what she should be claiming, right? This is what I sent Spotless Cleaning Services, another company, to go out and work for us. So even if you don't have employees, ADP can help you out. And even if even if you're the only employee in your business, ADP can help you out, not with just payroll, but with financial planning. And more importantly, as we're talking about, a lot of the regulations and things that are going on. Because most of the time we don't know what's happening. We don't have anybody like Jillian or ADP working for us. But now we're making this super available and super simple for you guys to connect with Jillian, to get signed up and helped out. And again, she works with businesses from anywhere from one person to hundreds of employees. It is never too late to start putting yourself on payroll. I put myself on payroll immediately, I think within the first month of taking on cleaning, because I knew how important it was, to show a proof of income. There were a lot of things that I wanted to buy personally, that I would need, proof for. And then I have two comments that we can answer here. And guys, thank you so much. Keep putting any questions that you have for Jillian in the chat. And don't forget to use the link in the description of this video to contact her. fill out the form, and she'd be happy to help you out, answer any specific questions. So we have a question from Muslima Builder. If you are at all familiar with Square Up Payroll, what benefits can ADP offer from them? I really want to keep everything on one platform, but this is the first time I'm scaling, so I don't really know. So I have to be honest, I'm not familiar with Square Up. I imagine that has to do with Square, which is a payment processing system, kind of like Stripe. Um, so that has to be kind of probably something new. I do understand that you do want to keep everything on the same platform. Realistically, it won't happen, of course, right? But you can try to minimize that. What I
I
would say is
can
that,
look though to see if
yeah,
it's so.
yeah,
Is kind of question for you? Is Square like what Carolyn said? Is that the payment processing company that also offers payroll? Because
I'm
that's my
actually I'm gonna look too. I think it is.
so
I
because yeah,
believe.
I've never heard of Square Up Payroll, but I can definitely look into it, and you and I can have a one on one.
Oh, so yeah, I did a real quick Google search, and it does seem that Square is now offering payroll.
Okay,
Um,
it is. That's what
oh
I.
yeah, it's where she built her website. Okay, so yeah, so Square is a payment processing platform,
Yeah.
and it's also it's a web design platform. Um, so this payroll that they're doing, this has to be something new, that they just integrated or added on a service. But if you could talk a little bit about how working with these smaller new companies could be have like a negative impact. Like for example, I know Jillian, you told me a story about a cleaning company or a company that was sending in their taxes to a platform like Gusto or Square or all of these new virtual pop-up apps. And I'll let Jillian talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a smaller company that had, like say X amount of clients, and um that company ended up going out of business, and taxes are paid at the end of the quarter. So say you're in September, you've paid September taxes, like you have a weekly payroll. Every week your taxes are coming out, you're paying your employer's taxes, your employees are paying their taxes, and they're going to these companies like as a holding, right? And then that company pays the taxes at the end of the quarter. So what had happened is in the middle of the quarter that company had shut down, went bankrupt, so the business owners were all responsible for those taxes. They had paid the taxes, but it wasn't paid to the IRS or to the state. So they were still responsible for paying those taxes. So they had lost what was already paid. And then as far as Square, I could definitely look into see if it's something that can be integrated in with ADP's payroll. A lot of other companies, other apps that business owners use do have integration. I'm not sure about Square. And then also as far as their payroll, I don't know if they handle the tax filings. I don't know if they'll help you produce the W-2s at the end of the year. I don't know if they take on liability, which is all things that ADP does. So definitely. If you reach out to me, send me an email, we could set up a call or we could email back and forth, and I could do some more digging on that and be able to tell you the differences between Square payroll and ADP payroll. Oh, I can't hear you now.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying that would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
so with the smaller payroll companies, like I said, there's Gusto, I know. There was like some kind of honeybee thing that I saw going around. And I've tried to, as I mentioned before, I have moved from ADP to other payroll systems, trying to, make my life easier, like you mentioned, being on one platform or trying to save a couple of dollars. And it's always been a major fail for me, only because of the customer service that ADP provides, right? You call ADP, I can call them at 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody's going to answer. I can call them on a Sunday, somebody's going to answer to help me put payroll in. If you're the type of person who I used to be like in the first few years of being in the cleaning business, because I was out cleaning, I was out marketing, I was out doing all these things. I was always late to run payroll. Didn't matter if I had everybody's hours, didn't matter if I had everything, tracked and recorded. Because it landed on me and I was doing everything, I was always late to submit my payroll. So thankfully, ADP does have 24/7 customer care. You can get in touch with an actual person. You're not forced to be on a live chat. You're not forced to wait an hour for an email back. And for me, that, trumps everything. especially when you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of knowledge about it. Um, so yes, I would definitely, look into what are you paying? How much are you paying for payroll on Square? Like, we're always trying to look for a number, but also what are the advantages of that, right? Do you have 24/7 customer care? Do you have somebody that is going to manage your account that you can reach out to ask questions? And I confidently could say I highly doubt that they are offering what ADP has to offer, only because ADP has been in the business for 75 years and they service every 1 out of 5 people that have payroll. Um,
Yeah, a
and
lot of
again,
times too, like, it could be very similar price, and with ADP, you're getting so much more for what you're paying. So, like, some people are using just say a simple payroll provider, and they're getting just the platform to process payroll, but it's not doing anything else. With ADP, I could look into it. I could see if I can match the price. You also get an exclusive discount through Carolyn, so that you get a 15% discount, um,
which
exclusive
is
for you
nice.
guys. And then also, we have like promos all the time that are running. So there's assistance with that. But definitely, yeah, I could take a look at Square. And then also, if say you don't love Square, ADP is partnered with Clover, and Clover is integratable with ADP's payroll. So you would be able to have your point of sale system, run payroll all through the same platform.
That's awesome. And then, so she says, thank you so much. She goes, well, if ADP is good enough for Amazon, I guess they're great enough for me. I work at a fulfillment center and they use ADP. So,
Yeah.
funny thing too. So, I've a lot of jobs that I've had in corporate, I got paid through ADP. My daughter, who just started her very first job coming out of high school, um, got her job and she uses ADP and she's so funny because she's like, "Ma," and I'm like, "What's up?" She's like, "I we use ADP too." She works for Ulta, the uh the beauty company, the beauty store, and she's like, "Even we work for ADP. Don't you have a friend?" I said, "Yes, Jillian." I'm like, "Yes, that's the software that I talk about on my channel." Um so yes, very large companies, small companies, doesn't matter what size you are, ADP has something to offer you. And then another thing is that they can help you with, depending on the package, with all of your compliance, which in small businesses, it's very, very important that we're on top of compliance. We have to have certain signage. We have to be, on top of all of the laws and the regulations that are changing. And as Jillian mentioned, there could be various changes throughout the year. If you don't have somebody working for you like ADP, you will not be made aware of. So I do
Yeah.
have another question for you, Jillian. She asks, actually, Maria Kelly asks, do you provide pay slips? Also, second question from the same person. What if your cleaning company has other services too?
So, question for the first question. When you say pay slips, do you mean pay stubs?
I believe she means pay stubs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, of course. So it's cool too. So if your employee wants direct deposit, that's done automatically. Obviously, the funds get transferred straight into their account and is available right away. And then their pay stubs will be available on their app. So all of your employees will have a self-service app where they'll be able to see all of their previous pay stubs, all of their previous W-2s, which is nice too, because I remember when I was buying my house, I didn't even work for ADP at this time, but we got paid by ADP, and I was able to just go straight into my app. And they ask you for a
Oh,
million
yeah.
pay stubs, your W-2s, all that stuff. I didn't have to go back and forth with my employer to bother them. So that gives you that much extra time in the day because your employees are able to self-service all of their information straight through the app. So they'll get all of their pay stubs, their W-2s, and then obviously if they get checks, their pay stub comes with the live check if they prefer a check to for you to be handed out. But obviously direct deposit is easier for the business owner and I think easier for your employee. But every once in a while, you'll have an employee that prefers a live check.
Oh, no, for sure. And
Yeah.
something else too, I can tell you guys is that you will get a copy of their pay stub. So we
Yeah.
each week we get a package that's delivered to our office, and it has everybody's pay stubs. And then also at the end of the year, you get a package of everybody's W-2s. And like Jillian said, if you don't want to worry about the paper trail, everything is on the app and on the dashboard. So your subcontractors and your employees could download the ADP app. They have a portal. They can make you can actually invite them to, right? And they can actually help you with the hiring process as well. Isn't that right, Jillian?
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And yeah, so your employees will have access to their pay stubs, and then you as the employer also have access to all their pay stubs. So say for example, you have, somebody that's not tech savvy and doesn't want to download the app or something, you are able to just go straight into your portal and pull the pay stub for them if you're on paperless, or like Carolyn said, that you'll get the package delivered to you with the pay stubs.
Yeah, and something else like that a lot of us don't really think about, but I want to mention is that it's not just about getting people paid, right? Yes, you have the stress of paying people. People want to get paid. But it's not just paying people, right? That's just part of it. It's keeping track of who we're paying and how much, right? Making sure that we have that proof for our accountants, making sure that we have that proof if we should ever get audited by the IRS. And then something else that was super, helpful, and just one less thing to think about are the taxes that need to come out of everybody's paycheck. If they're an employee, there are certain amounts of money that need to be deducted from that payroll, right? For multiple
Yeah.
things. And you can see this on the ADP app. State taxes have to get paid, Medicare, Medicaid, depending on what state you're in. I'm only thinking of the things in New York that I've seen on a pay stub. And again, because my youngest showed me her first pay stub and she's like, "Oh my God, I made this much money, but look at all this money they took out." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Welcome to being an adult." Yeah. So all of those deductions, right, that need to come need to get taken out and put to the state and all these different places. ADP does that for you. So they will take the money out for the state tax. They'll take money out for Medicare, whatever is required in your area. If your employees on child support, or if you're on child support, they can do those deductions for you. So you don't have to be scrambling at the end of the year worrying about, oh my God, did I take enough tax out? Did I pay this properly? Did I do all of these things? Why not just hire a professional from the very beginning, like ADP, to help you out with all these types of things? And again, you guys, you don't even need to have a certain amount of like income coming in, right? I put myself the first amount of money that I actually started to pay me and my sister out when we first started the business. Our salary was $150 a week for months, 150, because we were putting everything back into the business. And then we slowly increased as our revenue started to grow. We went from 150 to 200 a week, 253, 354, up until you get to that point. Or you can keep changing, you can always change your, what is that called again? When you pay salary, you can always change the salary that you decide to pay yourself, like as the business grows. And I think it's just really interesting. I love it. Although right now I am hypothetically, or I am the only employee of my company now since we've restructured. I still pay myself on ADP payroll, and I still pay my subcontractors using ADP. So you don't necessarily have to have employees. As long as you are a business that is paying other businesses, you can use, ADP. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to let them
If
know that
you're
as
an
well.
S corp too, like if your type of business is an S corp, or you're an LLC that files as an S corp and you don't yet have any employees, you are mandated by the IRS to be on payroll to pay yourself of some sort, whether it's you're doing it yourself or you hire a company like ADP. But like we said, a lot of business owners I see that I do switch over from them doing their payroll in-house to bring it over to ADP. We have to bring all the balances over. So say you started, like mid-year, you have all the 6 months of balances. So we have to take all those balances and then reconcile them and make sure everything is properly. And I can tell you every single in-house deal that I have taken over, there was a tax wrong somewhere with an employee or something, it's a person doing this manually. So when you have a
Right.
person doing it manually, think about us. Like, we make mistakes every day. You're doing math, constantly for say 2 employees, 10 employees, whatever it is. But every single time I submit those balances in, and I send it to our implementation team, and they have an entire team that goes through every single balance. It's off somewhere. And then when it's off somewhere at the end of the year, the business owner is responsible for paying that. So if you miscalculated your employees and they paid less than what they were supposed to pay, that's on the business owner at the end of the year to pay that. So
Wow.
a lot of times too, like when you come over to a company like ADP from doing it in house, you think you're saving on doing it in house, but in reality,
No.
like a mistake could be costly,
Yeah.
you
It
know?
can cost you thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm really happy that I was smart enough, and not that I was smart enough. Let me take that back. I had a mentor the whole entire time. I didn't know any of this. I'm glad that I listened to my mentor, my business mentor, when he told me don't cheap out on an 80 on a payroll platform, and don't cheap out on an accountant. Those are the two things he told me. Like, you do not want to play with taxes.
No.
Don't want to play with the state or the government. So it's very important, you guys, that I don't care if it's just you cleaning homes. It's very important that we're using a payroll provider like ADP that can help us keep updated with everything that's going on in our state and our country. And it's very important that we have a CPA, right, to talk to
Yeah.
and discuss and help with our quarterly taxes and stuff like that. I can't tell you guys how many of my mentees or clients, because I am in the coaching space. I work with many different cleaning businesses all over the world on a daily basis. And how many of them have told me a story of not paying taxes properly or misclassifying employees improperly and then getting fined for these types of things. So, the example here, and hello from London. We have somebody else that is joining right now from London. Thank you guys so much for joining. So happy to see that we have more than one person from the UK on this live right now, because ADP can also be used in your area. I want you guys to use the link in the description of this video to fill out the form at the bottom of the website page, to get in contact with Jillian. So you're gonna see a link on this video, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and put the link in this chat as well, so you guys can click on it. But scroll down to the page and fill out the form on the bottom of the page, and Jillian herself will get in contact with you to help you get set up. Um, but yeah, so this, and that's another thing, having somebody to go to that you can ask questions, right? I get a lot of questions from my students that I cannot answer for you guys. I live in New York City. I do business in New York and I do business in New Jersey. I cannot tell you what has to be done and taken out in Georgia. I cannot tell you myself with confidence, or without using chat gbt, which again, that's also not reliable, with giving you this type of information. That's why I have made it my business to find somebody like Jillian, a professional in the space, who is willing to answer your questions and who is willing to help you guys. Because I only know so much, right? I know about business development, growing a cleaning business, marketing, sales, but I can't help you with the legal end of things. But ADP right here, um, you know, they're here to help you out, and she'll be more than happy to get you set up. So something I just wanted to read one of these comments. And this is from Muslima Builder. Thank you so much, by the way, for putting in your questions, because we appreciate it. She says, wait, so if the employee changes their deduction and enough isn't paid, we pay as employers, or that happens if we input the info incorrectly?
If you input the info incorrectly. So like I had signed up. It was actually she was another cleaning business owner, and she had 26 employees, and she was only withholding FICA. She wasn't withholding any other taxes. And her accountant, I got introduced to her through her accountant actually. Her accountant was trying to get her on ADP for the longest because her balances were very messy. It was incorrect. It was a lot of work for the accountant. She had to correct everything. And she was like, this is not right. And then what was happening was, because she wasn't withholding the proper amount of taxes at the end of the year, she was paying all of her employer's taxes, but then she was also paying for all the mistakes that she was making because she wasn't withholding the proper amount of taxes. So because she wasn't withholding that from her employees' paychecks, she now is responsible for it. Because I mean, she could go to all of her 26 employees and be like, "Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
that's not
But you
gonna
know how
work."
unhappy they would be? No.
Yeah,
Let me tell you, there have been times where I overpaid people by mistake,
yeah,
and nobody wants to give you money back. Like,
no,
you're the employer. We shouldn't be making those types of mistakes to begin with. Of course we do. Like I just admitted, I've overpaid people plenty of times. And that's when I wasn't keeping track or like using ADP to help me stay organized. But another thing too is misclassification, right? This comes up a lot, you
yeah,
guys, in the conversations that I have with a lot of my um a lot of my students. And what I mean by this is sometimes we will hire somebody and we'll call them a subcontractor or a contractor, and that's not true because we're doing things and treating them like employees. ADP can explain to you exactly for your state, right? Because again, every state is regulated differently, what defines a subcontractor and an employee. That way they can really help you decide how to classify that person. I know somebody personally who um not too long ago, she got fined around 30 something thousand dollars because she was giving her subcontractors uniforms to wear. They asked, she didn't offer, they asked, they said, "Hey, we don't have uniforms. Can we buy some uniforms off you? So when we do go clean your accounts, we look decent, you know?" So she gave them to them. One of them got upset or got fired or whatever it was from that other company, and bam, $30,000 fine from workman's compensation, all of these things because it was misclassified. And then something else I would like to leave with you guys because we have about 5 minutes left to this live, that I want to talk about is the fact that yes, you can ask them all the questions you want for classification. Um, you can pay them through payroll properly. You will have all of your things organized, but you'll actually have somebody to ask questions to, and actually help you out. You know, like Jillian will answer your questions for you if you have any questions about payroll, setup, compliance. Um, do you think there's anything else that the audience should know about in terms of payroll or
yeah. I was gonna
anything
say
that?
before because a lot. I realize, like for me, it's like common sense because I'm in this industry, and I realize
Right.
that a lot of people don't realize because there's a lot of other payroll companies that don't do this. Is that yes, we withhold all the taxes, but we also pay the taxes for you to the IRS and to your state agency. So sometimes it's such a simple thing that like I don't bring up a lot, but I had just brought it up to somebody recently in a meeting I was having, and they're like, "Wait, like you make the payments for me?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." So that's something that like I have to remember to make sure I always tell people because that's something that you don't have to worry about on at the end of every quarter. You know, a business owner is going in, making the payments to the IRS, making the payments to the state agency. So we calculate, withhold, and make the payments for you as well. And then if you ever have an employee as well, that has wage garnishments, such as like child support, something like that, we can set you up on our enhanced. It comes in our enhanced and above platform where all you have to do is you'll get that letter from the agency saying that your employee has wage garnishments. All you have to do is upload that form onto the ADP platform, and then ADP will automatically deduct those wages from your employee and then automatically pay it to the agency, and you don't have to worry about anything. It's so hands
So
off, you know?
no, it is, and you know, thankfully, I never struggled to like do these things on my own because I signed up with you guys so early on. But I can't imagine having to do all of that. Like,
I
make sure
know.
that FICA's take. What kind of other deductions, really quickly, get taken out of a paycheck for an employee, just so that people have an understanding of like everything that you guys cover, just even with that one service. Like, I know there's FICA, depending on
Yeah,
the
your state
state,
taxes, your federal taxes, the Medicare, Medicaid.
all
Um,
those things.
yeah, there's like 6 or 7.
There's like 6 or
Yeah.
7 deductions, right, that
Yeah.
need to go
Yeah.
out and go to specific and be paid directly to specific agencies.
Yeah.
So, you could be withholding that money, like Jillian said, and not doing anything with it, or not putting sending it in properly, or it's not getting paid, and it just doesn't make any sense. Not for, a couple dollars a week to have a professional payment platform that's going to help you out with all of these different things.
And take
And
on
then
liability too, because if you, the business
I
owner,
was just going to talk
make
about that. If you could talk about that, that's a big one.
Yeah, of course. So if you, the business owner, make a mistake when you're doing payroll, that liability falls on you. If you have your accountant doing payroll for you, that liability falls on you. Even your accountant's the one that made the mistake, that liability falls on you as the business owner. And think about an accountant, that does payroll. If you have a weekly payroll, that's something that needs to be done every single week of the year, right? But an accountant has their high season, they have their tax season from January to April. Then there's another deadline in July, there's a deadline in September, there's a deadline in October. So accountants are consistently busy. And when they have those deadlines, that the filings are their main priority, not payroll. So they might be rushing to do it. If they make a mistake, that liability again falls on you. If you partner with ADP and ADP makes a mistake somewhere, that liability falls on us. So that's a huge thing of why a lot of people do come to ADP, because
Yes.
most companies don't
Because
have
that liability could be tens of thousands of dollars.
a lot. Yep.
Um,
We
so,
also
you know, that,
respond to the IRS for you. So if you get any letters from the IRS, all you have to do is take that letter, upload it onto your ADP platform. ADP will investigate it for you, and then ADP can also reply to the IRS for you.
oh, I love that. See, I
Hmm.
just learned something, you guys. That's interesting.
Yep.
So, no, that's great information. Also, you guys, ADP can also help with your future planning of, your life. We are not we didn't start these cleaning businesses to bust our butts, work 67 70 hours a week just to die and not have a retirement fund. We're not doing all this work just to have nothing saved up or our future plan, right? Life insurance, IRA accounts, uh, future family planning. We didn't get into this business to have nothing, right? Um, and a lot of small businesses don't realize that you can do these things for yourself as a small business, barely making any money with a platform like ADP. So if you wanted to open an IRA account, if you wanted to start planning for your future, you can do that. Just putting aside a couple of dollars every single week. I know we're just starting off in the business, most of us, but even in my first year, we were taking out $25 each for me and my sister to put in our savings, in our IRA account. And then you can always go in there and you can tweak it, right? Okay, you guys are making now maybe $6,000, $7,000 a month. Now you can put away $50 for you in your future. And you also have the option to do that for your employees. We're not saying that you have to, right? But when you are ready to start offering benefits, ADP is there to help you out. ADP is going to be here at every single stage of your business. When you're a solo cleaner, when you have your first cleaner, when you're working with subs, when you have a team of 20, when you want to start offering benefits, like they grow with you. And I would say my biggest advice for you guys, like I always mention, is find yourself a professional payroll system like ADP and somebody that you physically have to talk to, like Jillian, and get yourselves a CPA. You don't want to play around with taxes or misclassifying or anything like that, because one of those little mistakes could, really put you out of business if you don't have that kind of money to pay back. And I do want to just answer this last question, which is from Maria Kelly. What if you want to reinvest the money back into the business? That's a great point. And that's what I did early on. You should still be paying yourself a salary. So, as I mentioned, for the first almost year, I was only paying myself $150 a week, my sister 150 a week. um and as you increase your revenue, you can always adjust your salary, right? And it's great to put yourself on a salary because it's going to show proof of income. You also, guys, you need to realize that you're going to want to buy things at some point, if or rent, right, or lease, or even just opening up a phone line, right? You need to have some kind of income or some kind of credit built. So there are a lot of benefits to get yourself signed up with a professional payroll system. Me and Jill are going to be coming on to talk more and more to my YouTube community. Also, you guys, if you're not a part of my online paid community, the CEO Success Circle, please be sure to go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link here in the description as well. The reason why I bring that up is because for my paid online community, Jillian is actually an active member in there. So if you had any questions for her throughout the week, you can always tag her, you can send her a DM. We're always sharing more information with the community. We also have weekly group coaching calls. We have Q&A sessions with Jillian just for the community. And we also have other professionals that we bring on that can help you. We also have online courses, weekly coaching calls, digital downloads, all of my members only videos on there. If you are looking to grow your business in 2026, it's an awesome community. It costs less than a cup of coffee a day. And we're always improving and, adding more value to that community. And if you want to just get in direct contact with Jillian, totally, fine as well. I encourage you to do so. I put a link here in the chat, but I'm also, as soon as this live ends, I'm going to add the link to it so you guys can go back to book a call with Jillian to see how she can help you in your small business. Again, remember, it is never too late to start with a payroll system. It is never too late to get organized and do things the right way. You don't want to wait until you have to start scrambling through Zelle payments, Venmo payments, and then wondering where, you went wrong. But again, thank you so much for your time, Jill.
Of course. Thank you for
Thank
having
you for all of your knowledge. Thank you for all the help that you've done for me in my business personally. I definitely could not live without ADP as my payroll provider. As I mentioned, I have tried leaving the platform before just because I thought something was new and upcoming, and I always ended up going back. Not leaving again.
me.
I don't care what anybody has to offer. I did it twice. It's never going to happen again. I am more than satisfied with everything that you guys have to offer. And I'm really glad that we were able to connect because I feel like I learned about more things that I can be doing that I don't necessarily, that I'm not using, just because I'm not quite sure of it. But thank you so much
I'm learning every day
for
too.
everything.
So much that ADP does. And sometimes I'm like, wait, someone asked me a question and I dig into it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that. There's so much help for you guys that's available through ADP.
Exactly, you guys. And I'm gonna put my link in the description of this video so that you guys can get a discount, 15% off, I believe, for like your first 3 months.
No,
And
lifetime discount.
oh, for lifetime, even better. You guys are going to get a 15% off lifetime discount for ADP services. So be sure to use the link that I put in the description of this video and in the chat so you guys can get your 15% off lifetime discount. And we will see you in a few weeks with Jillian, unless you guys are part of the community, where we will be talking to you quite soon. Thank you so much, Jill. I really
Thank you.
appreciate this.
All right. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.